Welcome back, everyone, to this week's Galactic Reviews, where we watched and we're going to talk about the new Lisa Frankenstein directorial debut of Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams, written by the same person who wrote Jennifer's Body, which is a pretty cult classic at this point and quite eccentric. So I expected that from this movie. But a very basic summary: weird, quirky girl, um, and dead guy. It's pretty much it. We're a quirky girl and dead guy with death, with a lot of murder. Anyways, I thought it was fun. I thought it was a lot more. I thought it was better than I expected it to be, especially based on the trailer. I didn't think it was going to be good, but I had hopes because I really like Jennifer's Body, and I was excited to see if Zelda Williams got even an ounce of the creativity that she got from her father. And this movie was definitely very creative, definitely very imaginative. It's definitely a turn your brain off fun film. Got a lot of not quite nearly shock factor, just a lot of like, wow, big things that happen. Kind of Mean Girls esque, kind of Heather's esque. Felt very similar in energy to Edward Scissorhands. So I'd give it an overall like 6.5. From a movie standpoint, it's not a great movie, but it is fun. It's like a decent 6.5. It's definitely fun. It's definitely something that you could put on the back of a part like an '80s party, and just people will be fine with it. I enjoyed it. I think Zelda Williams did a very good job, especially directorially. Directorially, sure.
That's the correct, I think,
Yeah.
use of that.
Zach, near you.
You can go.
Okay. I did not like this movie, but I can't say I hated this movie. If Zelda Williams has a lot of what of the same creativity and humor that her father had, I don't think it was as shown in this film as much as what I would have liked to have seen. If she does have that same spark, it changed tones really rapidly and didn't kind of blend in. And I I don't know. Am I allowed to spoil?
Yeah.
Okay, so like as soon as the mom gets killed by the patchwork zombie, like it changed tones immediately. And that goes for the scenes, the characters and everything going on, and it didn't really blend well at all together. That kind of threw me off. The abrupt character change with the main character threw me off a lot. The zombie just randomly killing with no remorse and then showing some remorse at a weird spot during the piano scene, and then that's the only time we actually see him have remorse for killing people. Very confused about that part. I don't think any of that stuff was blended well together at all. The concept isn't bad. I got a lot of questions as to how everything works, but that's just the way my brain operates. Because all of a sudden he got his ear fixed and now he can walk okay.
Equilibrium, it's science.
Yeah, but that shouldn't stop a drag of the leg. So I get what you're saying, but and that also they only put the outer portion of the ear back on. They didn't like fix the inner portions of the ear. But yet now he can still hear like stuff like that, where it's just my mind working weirdly. He couldn't speak at all throughout the movie. So now he can, but at the end, sort of like end post, I don't even want to say post credit, the epilogue sort of scene.
Yeah.
He can all of a sudden start speaking again. So did he kill more people to fix his internal organs? I don't know. That's
He got
just
a new
how,
voice box.
yeah, new voice box, all that stuff.
From what I was getting, he was essentially getting more regenerated every time he hopped in the box.
Yeah, that's possible. But if
It
that's the
always,
case, then
it
there
just
might not have
reminded
been
me
no
of like
reason for him to go and kill a whole bunch of people to essentially become like a patchwork man. If that was the case, besides maybe a few things, he might have ended up regenerating a lot of that stuff. It's possible. If he can
Mhm.
regenerate internal organs, why wouldn't the rest of his body regenerate as well?
Mhm.
So that if that's the case, then that kind of dims down the whole. That kind of makes the murder scenes to some extent pointless. I'm just I'm very confused by this movie. The concept I don't hate. I just don't like the implementation of it. So I'll give this movie a 3.5 out of 10. I didn't mind the zombie actor. I didn't mind the lead actress in this one until the weird character change automatically. Yeah, I didn't like the way that they portrayed the dad character. He was just there. He wasn't like in control of a situation as a dad should, or as like he wasn't like helping keep the family together
He
when
was
the
like a
mom
side
was sort of
character.
like pushing it apart.
He was just a side character.
Yeah,
Let's be
he
honest.
wasn't at all important, even though like he was the last of her family, like biologically that was alive, and that seemed to actually care for her as like a parental figure. Yeah, a lot of things didn't gel with me in this movie, and I think it could have been done better. But I think the writing's, I don't know, it could have been the writing, could have been the director trying so hard that ended up putting their best foot forward and ended up falling down instead. I don't, it could have been one of those scenarios. I have no idea. Not trying to make excuses for the film, but just wasn't my cup of tea. So yeah, 3.5 out of 10. And I think I'm in the minority in this one again. So
Not really. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this style of movie. This reminded me of a very, like, obviously the 80s kind of cheesy horror film. Um, that's kind of what this movie was reminiscent of.
yeah,
And it really hit home with that. It did a very good job doing that cheesy, corny 80s horror comedy. But it's just for me personally, I never really cared for those movies anyways. Edward Scissorhands, as much as I've seen that movie, doesn't mean I like it any more than I did the first time. But it was just, I will give it to you, it was just a bit of an um, odd movie at parts with how the sudden changes between how characters' personalities were. But for her first film directing, you can tell it's her first film directing if it is her first film. Is it her first film as a
Yeah.
director?
yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
yeah. And there is
Um,
potential. Like I will say
yes,
that,
it
but
it wasn't a horrible movie, but um you can tell it's I'm trying to think how I want to put this.
you can
I don't
say it how you want to. It's a safe space here. You're fine.
to save space. I don't want to be like it's like a college project or whatever because it's not. It's
No,
better than that.
yeah, it
But
had a little bit more ingenuity than that did in a college project would. So
yeah, but I'm like it's like beginner directing, I suppose you could say. Um, but I can see if she continues directing, I can see her improving and making better because honestly, her directing with this wasn't bad. It was mostly just the way the script was written out. And I think she took what she had for the script and made a pretty good movie from it. But even still, I give this like a 4.5. It definitely wasn't terrible. She did a good job with getting that 80s comedy horror down, but it was just a cheesy, corny movie. Um, so yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm not going to disagree with y'all because this movie fits into a specific genre. I will disagree that the directing is amateur because this movie was made the way it was supposed to be made.
Well, that's
Um,
why I said I didn't want to call it amateur because she did do well for how it was
yeah.
supposed to be written.
I don't
But
think
Have either of
she.
you heard of the adjective camp or campy? Something is camp.
no. Can you describe that for me in a sentence?
I mean, I've camped once. Does that count?
Something that is absurdly exaggerated, artificial, or affected in a usually humorous way. Um, that's how you describe like Edward Scissorhands.
I don't know if I would call this campy.
This
Oh
would
no,
be classified as campy.
yeah, it was classified
If
because I just looked it
have
up.
either of you seen Jennifer's Body?
No,
No.
I haven't. yet.
Same person who wrote this, very similar vibes. Taking
The
a
only
horror
movie,
kind of story and
yeah, the
making it
only
more of
movie
a
I've seen that
phantasmical comedy.
yeah, the only movie I've seen that is campy like this would be Edward Scissorhands, and I wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah, and so this is definitely fits into a very specific genre.
Yeah, I knew
Um,
that.
it
Say
it
say the
wasn't. It's
definition of campy again.
I can just send
um,
it to you. Hold on, I'll just
it is something that is absurdly exaggerated, artificial, or affected in a usually humorous way. Kind of similar to like Cat in the Hat, but in this kind of genre, like less family friendly.
Yeah, they tried being
you
humorous,
go.
I guess. Yeah, they definitely did try to be humorous in some areas. It just wasn't that good.
I mean, I completely understand that like this is not everyone's movie. Not everyone will love Jennifer's Body. That's why it's a cult classic and not like a well loved movie. Kind of
Yeah.
similar to like The Room or American Horror Story. Just it doesn't fit the general
Yeah,
um, perceived popularity. But this movie did exactly what the writer's MO is, which is just being weird and exaggerated and phantasmical.
Yeah, what I think the direct I get what Zach is saying, and mainly with the amateur thing, and you can go ahead and correct me if I'm going down the wrong path with this, Zach. I think what the director didn't do in any of this stuff was look at stuff and see how it looked in a picture format. I think they just took the script and did what the script said and didn't try to ask like questions like how does this all fit together? Is there a way we can make this sort of blend better together? Because
Well, that's the thing. It's not
that's
supposed to. It's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to not fit like
kind of like
common sense.
the Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The thing about it is it doesn't make sense. And not in like an Argyle way where they're just jumping to conclusions, but like this is like a storybook.
yeah, but at least with and I hate I'm about to say this with Rocky Horror Picture Show, at least the characters remain consistent. This one they automatically just changed at a I can name the specific point when all of
yeah,
a
but
sudden
even
that
with that,
Oh, yeah.
the first
you-
death occurs, they immediately change characteristics. And with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, if you want to say they do change characteristics, that was during a time that was during a point when they were specifically being either mind altered or mind controlled to some degree
Yeah,
and
it wasn't like
acting
a flip
weird
of
and
the switch.
random.
I agree.
So,
but with that,
but
you can't really blame the director per se
I'm
for
not
that. That
saying
is how the
I'm
script
blame.
was.
I'm not saying that it's her fault necessarily that occurred. That was probably in the writing procedure. What I'm saying is the director.
Give a little
Um,
lead into how or the
yeah,
reason why it
I
was
I
so
think.
extreme. I
Well, she
suppose.
should have asked more. She should have asked more as to how to that would bleed better together. Because writing something on paper can be is different than seeing it in person. It's a different format, and sometimes it doesn't always translate well. Going from paper to in life sort of aspect. And I get this is all supposed to be fantasy or not fantasy, not real. Uh,
Yeah.
you still got to have it make some sense for the audience in order for it to follow the trail of character development. Whereas in this
I
one, it
mean,
was just
like that's what I'm trying to communicate. Like that was the whole point of it was that it wasn't supposed to make sense. Same thing happens in Edward Scissorhands. The dude's born with a pair of hands for scissors for hands, and the girl falls in
Scissors
love with
for
him.
hands. Yeah. Literally the only thing I remember from that movie is the very ending where he's standing or sitting over the guy just wiggling his fingers at him. And that's literally the
Yeah,
whole point of the movie. That's all I remember.
yeah, like very Tim Burton esque.
Yep.
Like yeah, like I definitely agree. This is not everyone's cup of tea.
Yep.
Um,
Um
but I think it was made how it was supposed. Like
yes, which I will agree.
they
And with
made
that
what they set
aspect
out to make.
and with that
okay.
I don't think there
aspect,
was a
yes,
disconnect
I
between the script and directing. I
with
actually think the
yeah.
directing was
With that
very good
aspect,
for.
I will retract most of what I said because I well the reason was as I was saying it, I'm like it's not the way that I wanted to describe it. I described it at the end how I wanted to. It was directed the way it's supposed to be. Um,
Yeah,
that's
but that doesn't
how it
make it like
feels. But
that doesn't
that doesn't
mean
make her a
everyone's
bad
gonna like it.
director. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't
But
mean everyone's
still,
gonna like it or that it's gonna be like a conventionally good movie.
but still, it's one of those things of trying to find out because this was made to be that way. So trying to
Why?
find out how good of a director she is, I suppose is the point.
Yeah, I think the
Considering,
scene that
yeah,
sticks out to me the most is like the weird dream sequence that she had. I thought that was very good. That was a really cool scene.
But I hope she continues.
I'd like to see a serious movie from her. I want to see what she
Yeah,
could do in that respect.
yes. I think that would be really nice to see just how good of a director she can be in a serious film.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to see her
like
continue.
she made a silly film and she did good at making a silly film.
Yep.
But how is she going to do when she makes like a serious film? So I don't think this is a good measure of like how she is the director
How
because she
she's a
did
director.
a lot
Yeah.
of
No, I
artsy
will agree.
stuff.
Yeah, that's why I'll retract what I said. Um,
But honestly,
yeah,
I can't say she's a great director just from this.
I
yeah,
won't, because like Andrew said, I can't tell that she's a great director from this, considering that it's
yeah.
campy and it's not something that's directly for me,
Well,
or I'm not the
I'm
direct audience of it.
retracting. Yeah, I'm
So,
retracting the phrase of using the word amateur, even though that's not the word I wanted to use. I just couldn't find another.
well, no, you said
Um,
she
Yeah,
wasn't.
I know, but in a nutshell, that's kind of what it brushed off to be. Um,
I mean,
Yeah,
um,
I feel like that's as close as a
you don't have
descriptor.
to. You don't have to
yeah,
say
I
like
know,
you could say amateur or
but
beginner. That's
it's
probably
still,
that's
yeah,
Like
basically the
she
same
did a
thing.
really good job with like an
Cons-
amateur project.
Considering that
yes,
it's her first time
yes,
doing it,
yes.
so
Which is honestly in her benefit could be good because now she has more experience to move into those more serious films.
yeah.
She can use this as a stepping block instead of going straight into a serious film and just flopping. Here's hoping she continues and
So
does more.
we'll see.
Yes, we'll see. Um, but yeah, any more to go
No.
off of?
I
No?
said my piece.
All right then.
Like I didn't love this movie. It was just
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
Very much
Also,
turn off your brain.
after Beekeeper, we're back to normal with the rankings. So
Beekeeper was great. Beekeeper was really good.
can't wait to get that thing on DVD. I gotta ask you this, Zach. Was my description of the movie um exact when I gave it to you
Description.
early, like before you went to go watch, and you said, "What is it about?"
Oh,
And I said, "Girl
yeah.
falls in love with a zombie."
It was, yeah, you gave me like bare minimum, and I was like, because I don't look at any trailers or anything before I watch these movies that we
Yeah.
recommend. I like doing that. So when I heard Lisa Frankenstein, I'm like, okay, it's like
Yeah.
Frankenstein's daughter falls in love with a
I
zombie.
also have
Like,
no idea
okay,
why she was named
so
Frankenstein.
no, she wasn't.
She
No,
Yeah, I
she
wasn't.
don't know
wasn't.
idea
That
why
wasn't
the
a part of the movie at
Frankenstein
all.
name was in the title, other than just
Well,
recognition of the name.
wasn't the zombie named something
No,
Frankenstein because she like
nah.
did the
No,
charcoal
not
over
that
the
we know
grave and
of.
it? Okay, well,
I mean,
okay,
it could be because she was doing the tomb. Uh, oh, what are those called?
I
Tombstones? A tombstone
Yeah,
rubbing.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
But and it said Frankenstein, but we never got confirmation that was his
yeah.
name. But I think it just comes from she was building him and sewing him together.
Yeah. I don't think,
But it's not the same way
yeah,
that Frankenstein was made.
Yeah.
yeah. That's one of the
Frankenstein's
things where I
monster
was
was
like,
made.
well, that's the one of the things where I'm like, it only just used the name in recognition only, just to sort of like engage audience members, which
I mean,
I
hey,
don't,
marketing.
so
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I don't have a
But
problem with it,
yeah.
but it was just unnecessary.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this episode of Galactic Reviews. Join us next week or next video as we review the new Dune movie, Dune Part 2, the finale
I rewatched the
of
first one
Book 1.
yesterday.
So join us next week.
With or without the popcorn bucket.
Without,
I'll get you some this time.
would have been a lot more enjoyable with it.